Hi, friends. Today I'm going to share with you my story, how I was in my 40s in pain, having difficulty walking, really unable to walk 3 miles without stopping multiple times because of low back pain, and different other painful issues that were happening that prevented me from being active, being overweight, and really uncomfortable in my body, and thinking that my future was determined to be one of disability, to being in my 50s, late 50s now, someone who's done sprint triathlons and continues to live an active, engaged life, which is essentially pain-free, as well as losing some of that unwanted weight. So if you're interested in a story of healing and wellness and things that anyone can do, then listen through to the end and I'll tell you the whole story of how I got here. So in my 40s, I'd say. I don't really quite remember the time frame. And I'm someone who have exercised off and on throughout my life. I have had periods of my back going out. I hate that term, but those things that happen when you do one simple little move, you have pain in your back. It sets you back a week or two because it's really difficult to move. As a physical therapist, it was kind of embarrassing that I kept having this happen to me. And I didn't really understand why I couldn't have a quick fix to it. Now, you have to put this in context with my belief system and understanding of what a back injury is and what it can mean. So I had my therapist brain that had understandings of what certain MRI images meant and what X-ray images meant and what they could mean for the future. But I also had a family history of a parent that had had multiple back surgeries and was on disability, and another parent that had chronic back pain that led to back surgery. And so when my back started to bother me, there was certainly a belief system in my head that I was going to have to live with this forever, that it was a part of my identity and I was destined to have a similar fate as my family, and that I would be likely someone that may be disabled by back pain. So that context helps understand when we look at pain neuroscience, why I had this prolonged problem. So that gives a little bit of history into my belief system. Although as a curious physical therapist that's always looking to learn and help improve how I serve my clients, I'm always looking for information that maybe challenges my belief system and changes how I take care of people. And so in this process, one of the things that I came to become more knowledgeable about was pain neuroscience. And I attended some lectures and information and read some books on pain neuroscience and understanding the biopsychosocial aspect of pain. And in a nutshell, here's what I'll explain about that. And this understanding will frame the context on how I healed and how I got better. So it's important to know that this may sound a little different and a little confusing, but just keep an open mind about what this means. And this is all science-based, all evidence-based. So pain is generated. Pain is always real. Pain is always valid. I never negate someone's experience of pain. Pain is always what it is. And pain is communication. Pain is generated by the brain. It is not generated by the tissues. Pain is generated by the brain. And the example that I'll give to help clarify this is someone that has an amputation can have phantom pain in that limb, in that foot that does not exist anymore, that is not attached to them, but their brain has a representation of that foot in it, and they can experience pain in that foot that has been amputated. So the brain is the generator of pain. Now, it's interpreting messages, communication from the tissues, so from your joints and muscles and tendons and tissues. That information, or that nociceptive information, is going to the brain, and it's evaluating this. It's saying safe or not safe. It's also interpreting, what is my experience with this? What do I know of this information from family, from other people that have had it, from other clients who have had it? What do I know about the trajectory? So we have to have our psychological context of what this means in our belief system. And then, so that's the bio is the tissues, the biopsychosocial model of pain. The bio side of it is what information is the brain receiving from the body. The psychological component of it is, what is my belief system about what an injury like this entails? What does it mean as I think about this? And what do I know about this from my past experience? And then the psychosocial, the social aspect is, am I going to be able to work? Am I going to be able to pay my bills? Maybe suddenly I'm not sleeping well because of this. Maybe I can't afford to do certain things, and it's adding a stressor. So all of those factors go into the brain to say safe or not safe, and how much pain can be mapped into the brain based on that injury. So I was having back pain, and I was having a really difficult time, and I was struggling to fix it. I had a belief system that I was destined for a future of disability based on my family. And then I was worried about my ability to work and continue my livelihood and to take care of people and to contribute to my household by being gainfully employed. So these things were very, very stressful. As I learned about pain neuroscience, then I began to say, is there a connection? Can I believe in a future where I can heal? Yes, I can. So I've always been someone who's very hopeful and very optimistic. And so I absolutely said, yes, if I can look at this through another lens, if I can reframe what I can take control over, then I truly believe that this can be a temporary situation and I can help my body to heal by taking the right action steps. So one of the first things I did was change my belief system and at least create a window of opportunity for that. But then other things I learned about pain and about the information coming from my tissues revolved around inflammation. And how does inflammation have an effect on our tissues and our bones? And it has a huge effect. The inflammation and this chronic underlying inflamed tissue is sending a lot of information to our brain that says not okay. And the brain is going to help us have a communication of pain so that we do something about what's happening. So as I studied inflammation and what can be done about inflammation, the first place I went to was nutrition. Now, let's backtrack a tiny bit and say, even though I developed this back pain, another issue I had was neck pain. I called it my ice pick. I had this ice pick in my shoulder that caused my right arm to have numbness and tingling, heaviness and weakness. I knew this in my own self-assessment to be a disc-related injury in my neck that caused these symptoms into my arm. It caused me to have pain on a daily basis, to limit my activity. And for this, I refused to consider other interventions from medical providers that might have helped me, but I just tried to manage it on my own. And I took prescription anti-inflammatories for 10 years. I kick myself for that now, but I did that for a long time. It helped. I thought it was helping, and I thought I needed it. As I learned about managing inflammation, I changed my diet, and I changed what I took, and I got off the prescription anti-inflammatories. And here's what I did. One, I decreased processed foods. I tried to eliminate anything that came in a box or was made in a building or a factory. I wanted whole foods. We cooked our foods at home. I knew what I was eating, and I was eliminating processed foods, especially highly processed foods. So that was part one in decreasing inflammation. Then I went on a food elimination diet to see if I had sensitivities to particular foods that might be contributing to that inflammation. So to give you an example, this is an example of what a food elimination diet. You could eliminate all dairy, all gluten-related foods. You could eliminate grains. You could eliminate all sugars. And those things that we know tend to be inflammatory in some people. Now, one program that I like and I recommend to clients, and I'm not affiliated with this program, I just think it does a good job and it's really very reasonably priced to buy the book and follow the program, and that is the Whole30 diet. You take 30 days of being very clear about what you're not eating and what you are eating. And then as you add one food group back, you pay attention to how you feel, because this will tell you if your body is not liking a certain food group, say dairy, for example. It will tell you if you have more pain, more inflammation, more phlegm, more mucus, if you're having some of the signs. And the book on the Whole30 plan walks you through this. This tells you if your body doesn't like it. And then you get to use that information to decide how valuable is this food group to me based on how I feel. And I have seen people with chronic illnesses, people that have rheumatoid arthritis, that have Hashimoto's thyroiditis, that were aging way sooner than their years, that were needing to use canes and walkers, and that were out of options in the traditional medical world. When they really buckled down and changed their nutrition, it changed their life. It absolutely changed their life and their experience of pain and their ability to engage in their life. So I do not undervalue how food and nutrition can do this for us in any way. I really strongly urge you to consider this. So that's what I did. I changed my nutrition, decreased the processed foods, lots of vegetables, really loaded up on the vegetables. And I am a very plant-forward eater, but I also eat protein sources, animal sources of protein. So good quality sources of protein on a regular basis. And I changed breakfast on its head. I stopped using grains, cereals, bagels, toast, those kinds of things for breakfast, and I focused on protein and vegetables. So breakfast for me often looks like a salad with some sort of meat, a salad with eggs and tofu, a salad with protein, or roasted vegetables that were left over from the night before with protein, healthy fat, maybe half an avocado. But changing that and eliminating those high carbohydrate, high starch, highly processed foods. Bagel was one of my favorite ways. And I would always be hungry again at just a few hours later. Changing that breakfast meal made a huge difference, and changing the processed foods made a huge difference. And weight came off rather easily with doing that. So eliminating sugar, eliminating a lot of grains. I still eat carbs because I need the energy. I'm not saying low carb, just being really careful about gluten-related grains. And then more quality in the protein. So those things made a huge difference. And then I supplemented, and this is just what I did. I'm not saying this is what you should do, but I supplemented with fish oil to get my omega fatty acids better in line. I supplemented with curcumin or in the form of Mariva. And those two things combined my other kind of general supplements, vitamin D, vitamin C. They made a better difference in how my body felt on a daily basis than the prescription anti-inflammatory that I eventually stopped and eliminated. So it was a miracle to me to not take any anti-inflammatory medication, whether over the counter or by prescription, and to feel better than I had in years. So changed the nutrition, eliminated processed foods, eliminated triggering foods. And then because I felt better, I was able to incorporate more movement. So at this point, here's the other thing. So we knew I had the neck injury, I had back pain, and I found out on a random test for something else that took an x-ray of my back that I had no disc at L5 and S1. So they couldn't see any disc space anymore. So that would be the term degeneration, degenerative disc disease, bone on bone. I don't like that term. I just think it's one bone resting on another. That's what they do. But when you first hear that, that has the connotation of fear. I'm old, I'm broken, I'm not well, it's degenerated. It has a lot of fearful terms. So this was existing. I knew there was no disc there. So for any of you that has that, I want you to know I understand. I also have some mild scoliosis. There is a curve. I have about 3/4 of an inch difference from one leg length to the other. So that causes a compensation curve in my spine. It hasn't progressed over the years. It's been about the same. I didn't even know I had it until I was in physical therapy school, and they assessed it and went, wow, you're really not straight. I don't ever let it hold me back. I don't feel like it does. And I don't put a lift in my shoe, and I don't make any different accommodation for how I move. I use my strength as my way to maintain it. I use the exercise as a way to support my spine. So degenerative disc disease, no disc at L5 and S1 level. You know that there's beginning some stenosis, some facet degeneration. So these x-rays are showing all these degenerative changes. Now, what I've come to learn through studying pain neuroscience, through studying what is true and not true about what we see on an image, an MRI or an x-ray, and it's relative truth or untruth about correlating that with a painful experience, is that we can take hundreds hundreds of people that have no symptoms, no pain, and we can put them through an X-ray or MRI, and we will see facet joint degeneration, degenerative disc disease, spondylosis. We will see all these changes. And what we're finding is that these are age-related changes that happen inside the body and do not always correlate with pain. So once I learned that this change in my spine may just be part of aging and part of who I am, and it doesn't have to mean pain, everything changed. Everything changed because I began to look at movement as more of something that could heal me instead of something that could hurt me. And so I began movement and I began yoga. And yoga was at the local recreation center, and it was a slow, deliberate movement style, which I really loved. It fit for me. And I hadn't really done much yoga before. And that yoga helped me get movement confidence. So the wonderful thing about yoga is it's a mindful practice. So you're paying attention to your body, you're tuning inward to what's happening. So I was able to move in ways that were deliberate and safe and protected because I was tuning into my body as I was doing it. It also involves a great deal of breathing and connection to the breath. And we know that that kind of work is very calming to our nervous system. So when we're talking about the brain interpreting information from the body and the tissues, we do that practice that utilizes the breath and is moving mindfully. The brain says, I'm safe. It says safe instead of unsafe. And so we begin to map safe movement in our brain and recreate this movement confidence with less pain. And that's exactly what happened. I was able to do more and more movement to feel better and better and to begin to feel stronger. And that's when I went from stopping 3 to 4 times to have to rest and stretch my back when walking 3 miles, and then being able to start to do sprint triathlons and do strength training and do those other things. So it was a combination of reframing my mindset about what my future could look like, what my body was capable of. Reframing my understanding of normal age-related changes that happen and show up on x-rays and MRIs, and whether or not that really meant that those were injuries that I had or that I could heal and move forward despite them. And controlling inflammation was the key, that even though I have no disc, my inflammation is under control and I generally have no pain. And that's also what happened with my neck too. I was able to resolve that and recover and heal. So if all of these things got better with eliminating inflammatory foods in my diet, eating foods that I know provided the right nutrients for healing and repair and regeneration, and then getting confidence in my movement a little at a time, and so that I could reframe movement as a way and as a tool to heal and grow and get stronger and give my body the resilience it needed. So I hope that was somewhat clear, and I hope that gives you context that though you may have different things that can sound really scary and can legitimately be restricting, that finding ways to manage inflammation in your body can make a tremendous difference, and finding ways to move that reassure your brain that you're safe will expand your body's ability to move in different ways and gain the strength that you need to do the things you want to do and the things you enjoy doing. And that I do believe that this is possible. This is possible for most of us to reframe this and to change how we feel. But we have to tune inward. We have to really learn our bodies, learn the triggers, and then we have to be willing to make some changes. Changing my nutrition was not easy. Giving up some of my favorite foods was a challenge, but I was too young to feel like I was going to live that way for the rest of my life. And so it became more important to change than it was to stay the same. And the one thing that I've learned over and over, and that we see about how to grow bolder and not older, and how to really live a full life through our lifespan, is that sedentary behavior, not having exercise as a regular feature in our life, is one of the more dangerous things that can happen to us. It is far more dangerous than any exercise program that you love to do. All right. Thank you. Thank you for listening. I hope you can identify and see that I am someone that has some of these issues too. I've had a herniated disc. I've had a pinched nerve in my neck. I've had neck pain. I've had low back pain. I have disc degeneration. I have bone on bone. I have scoliosis. You are not alone. And we all have to find what fits for us. So what fits for me may not fit for you. I'm not saying this is a one size fits all, but I want you to have hope that you don't have to be stuck and your future can look brighter than you imagine and you can feel better. Hey, if this was helpful, just leave me a little message down below that you appreciate this video. And I thank you for asking me to do it. And I want you all to just stay hopeful about what the future can look like. Thank you so much.